Tekken tends to get convoluted at times. It is by many accounts the hardest fighting game to get into, and that's saying a lot considering the fact that fighting games aren't exactly the most beginner-friendly genre in gaming to begin with. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you have the right mindset and adopt an adequate learning strategy, improving at Tekken can be just as smooth as any other game, while feeling just as rewarding if not more. Hello and welcome to the Essential Tekken Learning Roadmap. My name is Magician and I'll be your host. Let's talk about a few disclaimers. First off, I cannot in good faith tell you that the best way to learn Tekken is to actually watch me yap about it for 2 to 3 hours straight about the game's mechanics and the strategy and whatnot. The best way to learn Tekken, in my opinion, is to follow the cycle that's in front of you. First off, you are going to play the game. You will then encounter problems while playing this game. Second, you will learn the solutions. You will try to look for and learn the solutions to said problems. You will then try to apply the solutions that you learned in your gameplay. So why do you play the game, right? You will then rinse and repeat this cycle for thousands of times until you're actually good at the game. And as such, this video was made specifically for a few profiles in mind, right? It's people who want to learn the game, but cannot make heads or tails of the sheer amount of information that's available online, so they have no idea where to begin with, and they end up giving up due to information overload before even trying. For these people, this video provides a clear progression, so you don't need to think about how important or how advanced such and such concepts are, and I will lay it all out as simply as I possibly can. You might also be an experienced player who has simply hit a wall and has no idea how to progress or how to improve. If so, this video may or may not help you get back on track. It's up to luck, depending on where you're stuck or how you learn the game, right? You also might just be curious as to what awaits you as you get better at the game. You might not even have the game purchased, or you might be from another part of the FGC. If so, this video was also made for you if you just want to know more about Tekken. And the second disclaimer is that while I'll be doing my best to break every concept down to its most basic form, you have to understand that Tekken is huge, and I cannot possibly cover every single detail of the game in this video, or else it will be over 30 hours long, if not more, and that's not I'm not exaggerating in the slightest. So that's why if I feel like I do not do a certain concept justice, or if I do not explain it well enough, I will be linking a video to a tutorial either made by me or by another content creator who I feel like explains the concept well. So please do check the description if you want to learn more about a certain concept. The first thing I want you to do as a complete Tekken beginner is to actually pick a few characters. You might pick them because they visually look cool. You might pick them because they have the best looking moves for you. If you like martial arts like Jeet Kune Do, you may pick martial law. He's kinda like Bruce Lee and stuff. If you like Taekwondo, you might like Harang, the Taekwondo practitioner. The last thing I want you to do in Tekken is to obsess over tier lists and tier placements, because first off, Tekken is such a balanced game that the difference between the best and the worst characters is only important in the top level of play, like competitive and professional play. Everything else, tiers don't matter, and you should only pick a character because they look cool, they feel cool, or if their moves look cool for you, or martial arts as I said, or anything else like that. So now that you've picked a character or characters, and jumped into practice mode, let's get to know basic movement. Obviously, movement is always relative to your character. So when I say forward, I am talking about forward relative to the character. If I say back, it's back relative to the character again. So basic movement is moving forward. So you just press forward or right if you're on player 1 side. To move back, you press back. You can also jump by holding up and forward, or up and back in your directional pad. You can duck by holding down. You can shimmy forward by holding down and then pressing forward, but you cannot move back while crouching. Even if you press down and back, as you can see on my command history on the left of the screen, I do not move back even though I am pressing back and down. Other basic movement involves a forward dash. You do that by pressing forward, letting go, and then pressing forward again, like this. So you can see I am forward dashing and I am back dashing. It's the same for the back dash. You press back, release, and then press again. Back dash, forward dash, back dash, forward dash, right? Other parts of basic movements are sidestep. To sidestep into the background, you press and release up quickly, so like this. To sidestep into the foreground, you press and release down, like this. You can also sidewalk in this game. To sidewalk, it's kind of like a forward dash but with up and down. To sidewalk, you press up, release, and then hold up. So like this, you press, release, and then press again, like this. So by holding the second up, you start sidewalking. The same thing for a sidewalk into the foreground. You press down, you let go, and then you hold down, like this. So you can sidewalk. So this is it for basic movements. You're gonna use this for the most part up until you're intermediate at the game. These are the basic commands for basic movement, right? Just a quick thing before we're over with the basic movements. This is not movement as much as it is a state in the game. If you press down to crouch and hold it for a certain period of time, it's not too long. It's somewhere between like a 1/10 of a second and a 1/6 of a second, depending on the character and the move involved. So, but when you press and hold down for long, you enter a state called full crouch. It's not written anywhere in the game right now, but you just have to understand that when you are crouching down, you are entering full crouch. And when you let go of down, this moment right here, when your character is standing up, there is a state that we call while standing. So while the character is standing up, that is a state that we call while standing. And this state offers certain special moves that are not available when you are standing or when you are crouching, right? Okay, so now what I want you to do is go to the move list, right? On the pause menu. It's gonna drop you in the main techniques tab. I do not advise you to learn a character's move with this tab. You're gonna switch to the all techniques tab right here, where you can see all of your character's moves. And this is the main way you're going to get to learn a character and their moves. You're going to sift through the moves, and if you think a move looks cool, or if you think it serves a certain purpose, you are going to check it out. For example, the move that I'm hovering over right now, which is up, forward, and then right punch. If you want to perform this move in training mode, you can do it like this. You are going to press up forward and right punch at the same time, as you can see. This is the evading middle strike. We call this an evasive move in Tekken, and it serves a lot of purposes, even in like higher levels of play. So again, up, forward, and then right punch. You're gonna do this for like most of the character's moves to get to learn the character in depth. And a few good moves, whatever you think looks cool, or whatever you think serves a decent purpose while you play the game, you are going to remember about the character, right? After having looked at the move list, let's now talk about basic move properties. Basic move properties include a few things, such as, first off, damage. For example, this jab right here, if you see my opponent's health bar, this move does not do as much damage as this move, for example. They both do not do as much damage as this move. Each move has its own damage value that you hit the opponent with, right? So damage is a part of move properties. A second part of move properties, basic move properties rather, is the hit level. For example, in training mode, you can see that this move is a high. You can see the high written there. Some moves are mids because they hit somewhere around the character's median line. So this is a mid. This is also a mid. And the third hit level of moves are lows. Anything that hits under the belt is a low, right? So this is a low, this is a low, this is also a low, and this is a low too. So basic move properties are the hit, the damage value rather, and the hit level as in high, mid, low, right? The last thing I want to talk about before I move on is throws. Throws are a special kind of move, as you can see. They have a high hit level, but they are not quite the same as highs. They deal a considerable amount of damage, but I'm just talking about them to let you know that there's a difference between a high, as you can see, and a throw. They are similar, they have similarities, but they are not the same thing at all, right? The last part of basic move properties that I want to talk about is special attributes. If you go to the move list and look at your moves, there are sometimes going to be certain icons on the far right. These indicate that a move has a special attribute. The examples of special attributes that I'm going to talk about in this example are homing moves and power crush. For example, this is an example of a homing move. As you can see, with the teal, I think that's the name of the color, with the teal tracks associated with the move that follows the kick around. What a homing move does, is that it tracks the opponents even if they are sidestepping. So this kind of homing move is amazing if the character, if my opponent tries to sidestep, as you can see in the example. See? My opponent is sidestepping, but this move is tracking them, whichever way they are going. This it does the same thing if my opponent steps to the other side. This is an example of a homing move, which is characterized by the teal like effect that follows the kick around, right? Another type of special attribute that a move might have is the power crush effect. It is characterized by you see that white aura that comes out of Jin? That's the signal that a move is a power crush. And what a power crush does is it ignores the opponent's incoming attack. So even if they try to interrupt you, even if they try to hit you while you are doing the move is still going to come out. Like this, as you can see. I am doing a power crush, and it is ignoring the fact that Kazuya is trying to hit me and dealing damage anyway. So that is an example of a homing move. Of a power crush, There are many other kinds of attributes, but you can check those out in training mode. If you go back to the move list, and if I do remember correctly, yeah, if you press square, there is the help tab that is going to explain every single special attribute that you can see on the right side of the screen on the move list. And yeah, that's about it. So after understanding basic movements and basic move properties, let's talk about basic defense. So basic defense is basically two concepts, really. It is stand blocking and it is ducking. What does stand blocking do? First off, you stand block by pressing back. You can technically block incoming moves just by doing nothing. That is called a neutral block, just by standing around. But we do not advise people to learn to block through neutral guard because there are certain moves that are not, that go through a neutral block rather. So that's why we advise to stand block by holding back, like this. So while moving back, you are stand blocking as you should be. What does stand blocking do? It helps us block highs and the mids, as you can see. I am blocking the highs and the mids. So what are the downsides of stand blocking? As you can see, I am getting hit by the lows. If you stand block, you leave yourself open to lows. right? As you can see, I am getting hit by every low in the book. So, how do we block lows? It is very simple. You actually just duck. While ducking, either by pressing down or down and back at the same time, you actually block the lows. As you can see, I am blocking every low that has hit me before. So, what are the downsides of ducking and low blocking? This might come as a surprise to anyone who plays other fighters, but when you are low blocking in this game, you leave yourself open to mids. Again, the moves that you were able to block while stand blocking, you are now going to get hit by if you press down back. If you actually try to block, if you try to block the lows, you are going to get hit by the mids, and vice versa. If you try to block the mids, you are going to get hit by the lows. So this is kind of a mix-up, right? Another aspect of ducking that I want to talk about is that is the ducking part of it. If you are ducking, if you are trying to block a low, you actually duck under every high and every throw, as you can see. My opponent is trying to throw and is trying to do highs, but I am ducking them. So highs are special in the fact that you can actually block them while standing, as you can see, but you can also duck them by holding down or down back, right? So this is basic defense. For mids, as we have seen, for mids and highs, sorry, you can block the mids and the highs if you stand block. For the lows, in order to block those, you need to be low blocking or ducking. And for highs, you can either duck them, right? You can either duck the highs, as you can see, or you can block them, whichever way works, right? So this is it about basic defense. So next up, we're gonna talk about move notations. What are move notations? It is basically like the language we use to communicate outside of the game. It's a universal language, so it's like move notations are universal. So no matter what language you speak or what platform you play on, whether you play on PC or console, we can all understand each other through move notations. So hopefully you can see a picture of notations in front of you. We're going to first talk about movement or direction notations. As you probably have guessed, the 4 cardinal directions are forward, back, up, and down. And the diagonal notations, we call them up forward, down back, and up back, respectively. The last notation that I want you to know about is the N in the middle. That stands for neutral. It means not pressing anything. So when you are not pressing anything on your D-pad or your WASD, you are actually inputting neutral, okay? So that's it for movements or directional notations. Let's talk about limb notations. Limb notations are 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 is for your left punch, 2 is for your right punch, 3 for left kick, and 4 for right kick, right? Additionally, for certain moves, you would have to do 2 limbs at the same time. For example, this move where you have to do both punches, we call this a 1+2 input. Plus, in Tekken notations, basically means that you have to press the 2 limbs at the same time. Example may include this move, or even this move with both kicks, right? So now we know about directional notations and limb notations. We combine these 2 notations to come out with move notations. For example, this, where I press down forward and the left punch at the same time, is called a down forward 1. This is a down forward 1. This is an up forward 4. This is a down 3+4. This is a forward 1+2, and this is a back 1+2. As you can see, we use both the directional inputs and the limb inputs to come out with the move inputs. I think you should learn about move notations pretty early on because it is basically the only way to understand Tekken out of the scope of the game itself. The moment you go online to search things about Tekken, you are going to get hit with move notations, and I think you should understand those pretty early on so that you can either engage with the community or watch videos, whatever platform you play on. So move notations are pretty important and you should get to know them early on. Okay, so next up we're going to talk about stances. What are stances? They are special states that give you access to moves that you can do normally when you're standing around. For example, this is Zen stance, we call this. You can either enter this stance by pressing forward 3+4 or back 3+4. It's the same stance. And what it does, what stances do in general, is that they give us access to attacks that you can't normally do while you're standing around. For example, this is Jin's standing 1. You see, this is his jab. But if I enter Zen and then press the 1, it's a new move. This is Zen 1. He has extensions from it, like Zen 1, 3. He also has a lot of other moves. For example, this is Jin's standing 4. But in Zen 4 is this dive kick, this strong mid kick that gives him a lot of advantage. So these are stances. Most characters have 1 or 2 stances. Some have more, some have less. For example, Asuka and Claudio have literally 0 stances. So another example for a stance on Jin is his crouch dash. This is a Mishima crouch dash. All Mishimas and some other characters have this type of stance. It's universal. It also has special moves from it. For example, this is Jin's normal standing 4. As you can see, this is just a right punch. But if I enter crouch dash and then press the 2, it gives him this move. This is Jin's rather crouch dash 2, right? This is Jin's crouch dash 1. He also has a crouch dash 4. So as you can see, stances give us access to moves that are not normally accessible while they are standing around. These are stances. You can see them in the move list too. There are also stance transitions. For example, there are certain moves that can go into stances. For example, Jin's forward 4. As you can see, I am entering Zen from the transition itself. I don't do it like manually. I just hold forward after forward 4 and he enters the stance. Back forward 2-3 is also like this. Back 3 also has a Zen transition. So there are a lot of moves that transition either automatically or manually into stances. So go into the move list and see what moves have stance transitions and what are your moves from this stance itself. Another aspect of Tekken which is important but the game doesn't teach you is about counter hits. Counter hits usually happen when you hit your opponent while they are starting their move, or when your opponent hits you while you are starting your move. Counter hits happen when a move is interrupted by another move. Here's an example. This is Kazuya doing a jab into down back 2. This is Kazuya jab, down back 2, a rather slow move. So if I do hit Kazuya while he is starting his down back 2, I am going to score a counter hit. You can see that on the left corner, right? You can see the counter icon there. And so what counter hits do universally is they give 20% more damage than the move normally does, rather. If a move does 10 damage, it's going to do 12. If it does 20, it's going to do 24. This is a universal aspect of counter hits, but some certain moves have additional benefits from counter hits. For example, this is Jin's forward 4. As you can see, when it hits, it sends the opponents back, like this. But if you score Jin's forward 4 as a counter hit, it actually sends the opponent stumbling away, like this. This is a launcher. Don't worry, we're gonna talk about launchers the very next part, but it is a launcher that actually now guarantees a full combo, as you can see. So counter hits universally do 20% bonus damage, but some moves have special additional effects. Another example of a counter hit effect is Jin's standing 4. As you can see, it normally sends the opponents into a ballerina stun when they like twirl around themselves. That's called a ballerina stun. This is normal hits, but on a counter hit, it actually puts the opponent on their knee, you know, like this. And what this does, it gives us bonus damage, like this. You actually, if you score Jin's standing 4 as a counter hit, you get a guaranteed down forward 1-4. So this is another example of a bonus aspect of a counter hit, as you can see, tak tak. Or even for the bigger moves, like I've shown, forward 4, which gives a full combo, right? So these are counter hits. The next topic on the list is actually combos, or air juggles, as they are called in the game. And why they are so important is that the opponents cannot block anything while they are airborne. As you can see, while Kazuya is in the air, he cannot block any of the moves that I'm hitting him with right now. So, well, another part of why combos are so important is because of the damage they do. As you can see, a normal, a regular, or a staple combo, as we call them, can do more than 30% damage actually, if it's a simple combo. And if you reach the wall, they can easily do around 50%. I messed that up. But if I do an actual combo like this and actually carry my opponent to the wall, I can almost do 50% of my opponent's health bar with a full combo into wall combo. So that's why they are so important. So how do we go about learning combos? I want you to go to the practice menu right here, and I want you to go to sample combos, this option. What you are going to find is a list of combos. Ignore this first one. This one is so bad you don't even need to think about it. And you are going to go down this list of combos. They are ranked by difficulty, I guess. And for example, this combo that I'm hovering over right now, up forward 4, back 1 2, into down back 2 2 3, would look something like this, right? Up forward 4, back 1 2, down back 2 2 3. A very simple combo. So I want you to do each of these combos, right? I want you to go down this list, and I want you to see with how much ease or how much difficulty you can do these combos. If you can only, if you struggle with these combos, you can stop here. I want you to at least be able to do these combos on this list, right? But if you can only do them with a certain difficulty, I want you to stop here. This is good enough, right? But if you can do these combos with a relative ease, if you can do these combos easily, what I would advise you to do is actually go on YouTube and look for combo video tutorials. Examples of content creators are Rising Soul and The Fury. They have good combo video tutorials for many characters, for all characters, I guess. And I want you to do the combos on those videos too. If you struggle with those combos, actually, I want you to stop there again. But if you can also do those with relative ease, you can actually, I would advise you rather to start practicing wall combos, like wall carry combos into wall enders, as I've shown you before with this example, right? This is an example of a wall ender. If you can also do these with relative ease, a full combo into a wall combo, I want you to stop here. Again, this is as far as you should go in basic combo structure. Up until the intermediate level, where we're going to learn about off-axis combos, right, when the opponent is not facing you, and back-turned combos, when you can rack up more damage than a regular combo if you know what to do in that situation, right? So yeah, this is it about how to learn combos. So after having learned how to learn combos, the next thing I want you to know is the basic structure or the science of combos. Combos are usually rather broken down into parts. The first part of the combo is the launcher. As you can see, it's the move that starts the combo, and why we call them a launcher is that they launch the opponents up in the air. Most of them at least. This is a launcher, up forward 4 is a launcher, down 3+4 for Jin is also a launcher. Another example of a launcher is crouch dash 1. But not all launchers actually send the opponents flying up in the air. Some moves like forward 3 for example, even though it doesn't send the opponents flying, it is also a launcher since you can connect with these other moves, as you can see, as I'm doing right now, right? So there are many types of launchers. Some are normal hit launchers as opposed to counter hit launchers, which only launch if you score a counter hit with that move. For example, Jin's forward 4 on normal hits only sends the opponents back, as you can see. But if I score a counter hit with this move, I'm going to get a full combo, as you can see. And counter hit launchers, since they start with a counter hit, they normally do a bit more damage than normal hit launchers, but that varies from combo to combo. So as you can see, the first part of a combo is the launcher. There are normal hit launchers and counter hit launchers, right? So yeah, following a launcher, we usually do a filler, which is a few good small moves that help us rack up the damage. This is an example of a combo filler, right? It's the little moves that I'm doing to fill up my combo to get more damage. After your launcher and your filler, you are going to learn about Tornado. What is Tornado? Tornado is a move that sends the opponents twisting around in the air. So this is an example of a Tornado move. Another Tornado move for Jin is back 1-2. And another one is 1-1. As you can see, they all send the opponents twirling and twisting around in the air. And what they do, what Tornado moves do, is they give us the opportunity to end the combo with a combo ender. So up until now, the basic combo structure is launcher, filler, into Tornado, into Ender, which is a powerful move that sends the opponents flying away sometimes and gives us good damage at the end of the combo. So this is basic combo structure. Of course, later you're going to learn about strong aerial tailspin, which sends the opponent twisting sideways, as you can see, as I did both times with this combo, right? But that is, you can learn about those later. For now, the basic combo structure is launcher, filler, launcher, filler, into Tornado, into Ender, right? So launcher, filler, Tornado, Ender. This is the basic structure of all combos. So next up, we're going to talk about heat. What is heat? It's a mechanic in the game denoted by that blue bar under the health bar, as you can see on the top of the screen. How do we access heat? There are two ways to do so. The first one is with a heat burst. The universal input for every character for a heat burst is 2+3, right punch plus left kick, right? So if I press 2+3, I get my heat burst. As I said, it is a universal input, every character has it, and whether the opponent gets hit by it or if they block it, as you can see, heat will always activate, right? So he blocked it, Kazuya blocked the heat burst, but even then I went into heat mode. So the second way to get into heat is to actually land a heat engager. What are heat engagers? They are moves that are unique for every character that if you land those moves, those heat engager, you go into heat. So Jin's forward 4, forward 2, sorry, or his forward 3-1, I believe, right? Also, his downward 4 is a heat engager. Now, the main difference between heat engagers and heat bursts is how much heat you have. If you use a heat burst, you only get to use 2/3 of your heat, as you can see up in the upper, like on the upper side of the screen. When I activate a heat burst, I only get to use the 2/3 of my heat. The first third gets depleted instantly, right? But if I hit a heat engager, as you can see, I get to use my full heat bar. I start off in heat mode with the full bar. Important to note that heat bursts can also be cancelled by pressing back during the animation. As you can see, this is a normal heat burst, which is an attack, but if I press back during this cinematic, I cancel the heat burst. If you combine the fact that you can cancel heat bursts and the fact that they let you go into heat either on block and hit, it is understandable that you only get to use the 2/3 and the first third of your heat bar gets depleted, right? So, what does heat mode do? Actually, you can check everything that it does if you go to the move list and you check the All Techniques tab in the heat system category. Most of the changes, the buffs that you get from heat, are universal. We're going to go over them later. But there are also unique things that you gain from heat that depend on your character alone. For example, Jin here has access to new moves like forward 1+2. As you can see, without heat, if I try to do forward 1+2, I only end up with this move, which is his normal forward 1+2. But if I go into heat and then try to do forward 1+2, I get this new move that has a stance transition and unique moves that come out of it, right? So that is an example of a unique buff that heat gives you. Other universal things that are provided by heat that every character has are first off chip damage. It would be best if I show you, but if I go into heat and I make my opponent block some moves, you can see that even though he is blocking them, he still gets some damage. We call that white health. It's kind of like chip damage in other games. You can recover it by having like the opponent attack you and have you block his moves. By doing that, Kazuya can actually get that white health back. And as such, even though you can get that health back, don't think that white health is useless. It is useless like to inflict white health on your opponents, because it is amazing and it quickly compounds, right? Chip damage is always good in this game. So that's why, that's what the heat does. The first thing that it does is it makes the opponent get damaged with white health, even if he blocks your moves, right? The second thing that heat does for every character is that it gives them access to special moves. Those are Heat Smash and Heat Dash. Let's go over them one by one. What is a Heat Smash? When you are in heat and you press 2+3 again, you get a really good move that's called a Heat Smash. As you can see, it does a boatload of damage. It has a lot of range, so it is very difficult to miss, either because of like the distance between the opponents, or if they sidestep, they have good tracking to the side too, right? So they are amazing moves all around. When you use a Heat Smash, you use up all remaining heat. As you can see, even though I just activated heat here, if I use a Heat Smash, all my heat gets depleted. Same thing if I like use my heat and then wait around up until I have a sliver of heat left, and then I do my Heat Smash, it depletes the remaining heat. So that's the first thing that heat does. It gives every character a powerful Heat Smash, an amazing move all around. The second thing that heat does for everyone is that it gives them Heat Dash. Now, as you remember, if I hit my opponent with a Heat Engager, so this type of move, the one that gives me the full heat bar, if I hit my opponent with this move, While I am in heat, what actually happens is that I do a heat dash if I hold forward after the move. So I hit my opponents with the move and then I hold forward. What happens then is a heat dash. Why heat dashes are so good is that they are actually launchers, as you can see. If I hit my opponents with a heat dash, I get a full launch, right? Heat dash combos are specific. They don't follow the same rules as normal combos, but you can still get a combo all the same. As with heat smashes, heat dashes deplete all your remaining heat. Even if I have a lot of heat and I use heat dash, it gets depleted. Also, if I have a sliver of heat health and a sliver of heat left, sorry, and I do a heat smash, even with this little bit of heat left, I still get a full combo, right? So the tactic here is to use heat smash and heat dash when you only have a little bit of heat left to make full use rather of your full heat bar, right? So this is what heat does. To activate heat, you use either heat burst or heat engager. While you are in heat, you actually do white health or chip damage, so you can actually damage your opponents even if they are blocking, even if for a little bit, which is great either way. And to make full use of the heat bar, you use your heat smash or your heat dash at the end of the heat bar, right? So this is like basic heat, the basic properties of heat. Next talking point here is rage. Do you see that thin line in our health bars? Sorry, during the last like 20 to 25%. If we do reach that point, like if you get hit to the point where you actually reach that level of health, you are going to enter rage mode. So if I can actually get to rage and show you what it does. First off, you can see it by the glowing red effect on the health bar and the red aura on Jin himself, on the character himself. So, what does Rage do? It is a comeback mechanic. First thing that it does is it gives you bonus damage on every move you do. Every move does plus 10% damage, so if it does 10%, it's gonna do, if it does 10% normally, it's going to do 11 damage, sorry. If it does 10 damage, it's going to do 11 damage. If it normally does 20, it's going to do 22, 30, 33, and so on and so forth. That's the first thing that Rage does. It gives you bonus damage on every move you do. The second thing that Rage does is basically when you enter Rage, you get hit with very little chip damage or white health, as you can see in this example. Even if my opponent is in rage and I block his moves, I get hit with minimal chip damage, which is really good if you're low on health, as you can see, right? And the last thing that Rage does is it gives you access to Rage Arts. Rage Arts are special moves. The input for them universally for every character is down forward 1 plus 2, sorry. It's down forward 1 plus 2. Rage Arts have a few properties. First of all, they are power crushes during the first frames. So if my opponent tries to interrupt me while I am doing a Rage Arts, they will not be able to do so, just like this. If it activates, I will power crush through my enemy's moves and perform the Rage Art. The second thing that it does, aside from like the boatload of damage as you can see on Kazuya's health bar, is the fact that it gives a decent amount of recoverable health back. As you can see on Jin's health bar, the moment the Rage Art ends, he's going to get quite a bit of health back right here. That's the part where his health bar flashes green, right? So that's another thing that Rage Arts do. The last thing that Rage Arts do is that they remove all of the opponent's white health. So here it is, as you can see, Kazuya has half of his health as white health, but the moment I hit him with a Rage Art, every single bit of white health that he had is going to disappear. And that's the last thing that rage arts do. You could potentially use them at the end of a combo to remove all of your opponent's white health, all of their recoverable health, right? So that's about everything you need to know as a complete beginner at Tekken. Now I only need you to do one more thing. It's that I want you to go play against real people. You can do that either via ranked match or a quick match. And the reason for that is, there are actually two reasons for that. The first one is I want to get rid of anxiety, if applicable. There is a certain subset of people, including myself during the TAC 2 days, that get uncontrollably anxious when playing against online against other players. And the earlier you get rid of that anxiety, the better it will be for your learning experience, right? The second reason I want you to go play against other people is to get a feel for how humans play, like compared to the CPU. The way the engine plays against a human and the way like other humans play against each other is like worlds apart. And the earlier you get to understand that the other person that's playing against you is just some random doofus who's like running the controller across their face, like the better it is for everyone. And I'm not telling you to play like a pro player. You can just mash, you can throw, you can just do everything, like just run your fingers across the controller. Just get to know how another human plays. We have reached our first turning point, and there are a few things I want you to do now. To do and know both. The first thing is to limit yourself to 1 or 2 characters, right? And if you really want to play 2 characters, I strongly advise you to pick characters that are similar to each other, like Asuka and Jun, for example. The reason for this, it's simple, is that Tekken is such a deep game, and trying to learn this game while, like on an intermediate level, while dividing your attention like to so many characters at the same time is counterproductive. So again, I'm not forcing you to do it, I just strongly advise you to pick like 1 or 2 characters to concentrate on while you learn the game on an intermediate level. The second thing I want you to know is that the intermediate stage is by like a very large margin the stage where you are going to spend the most time in training mode compared to a beginner or an advanced player, right? So get ready to grind a lot in training mode in practice while you are at the intermediate level. This seems like as good a time as any to plug myself, so if you are looking to get better at the game at a quicker rate, consider booking a coaching session with me on Metafy. The link is in the description. If you don't feel like wasting time going through tons of information just to solve your Tekken problems, coaching might be the solution for you. Anyway, self-plug over, back to Tekken. The first thing I want to talk about in intermediate Tekken, and the thing that a lot of people ignore while learning the game, is how to get up from the ground. Sometimes when you play the game, you are going to hit the ground like this, or you are going to get knocked down, as we say in Tekken. After you get knocked down, you will have access to a technique that's called a tech roll. How you do a tech roll is the moment you hit the ground, you are going to hit any button, any of the face buttons, right? So either 1, 2, 3, or 4. The punch buttons, 1 and 2, are going to let you tech roll into the background, as you can see. And the kick buttons, 3 and 4, are going to let you tech roll into the foreground. So, why is tech roll so good? It's because during the first frames of the tech roll, you have invulnerability frames. Your opponents cannot pick you up from the ground, they cannot hit you on the ground, and they cannot hit you while you're standing up. That's why tech rolls are so good. You can use tech rolls after a knockdown like this, or at the end of most combos, as you can see with this example. You can almost always like tech roll, and 90% of the time, if you can tech roll like I just did, you should do it, right? There are going to be times, however, when you cannot tech roll. Examples may include after a spike ender, as you can see, When you get slammed to the ground like that at the end of a combo, you cannot tech roll at all. If you are spiked, or if you are otherwise hit with a hard knockdown, which is a type of knockdown that doesn't let you tech roll, you are going, when you are grounded rather, that's what we call it, when you are grounded, you have access to a few options. These options vary from attacks to just moves. So if I set myself to be down on the ground like this, we can see these options. The most basic options are just standing straight back up, either with up, as you can see like this, or with back, where the character shimmies back and creates space between you and the opponent. These options are good. They are the fastest way to stand up blocking after a knockdown. But the downside is that if your opponent expects it and they dash up in front of you, then you are at an overwhelming disadvantage. You are on the defensive and you have to guess or make a read on what your opponent is going to do. Another option that you have while you are grounded are side rolls. Not to be confused with tech rolls. Tech rolls give you iframes and you use them the moment you hit the ground. But side rolls, you can use them anytime you want while you are on the ground, and they do not give you iframes. In fact, you do not even stand back up after a side roll. You can choose to stand back up if you just press 1 or 2, right? No, if you just press 1, you will stand back up. You will side roll into the foreground and stand back up. But if you press 1 and hold down immediately after, you are going to side roll and stay on the ground. Side rolls are useful to make your opponent miss you if they are trying to hit you while you are on the ground. Side rolls can make a few of those moves miss. You can, as I was saying, you can side roll into the background rather by pressing 1. If you want to side roll into the foreground, you hold down and then you press 1, and then you will side roll rather into the foreground, right? And the last type of options I want to cover before we move on are get up attacks. There are 4 types of generic get up attacks in Tekken. There are get up kicks, as you can see. There are toe kicks, which are missing even at this range, if you can see it. And lastly, there are spring kicks. Let's go over each of these. Get up kicks, both the low get up kick that you use by pressing 3 and the mid get up kick that you use by pressing 4 are relatively safe. You can actually get counter hits out of them, and yeah, but that's about it. Even if the opponent blocks those, you are relatively safe. You are at a disadvantage, but you are not going to get hit by anything, right? So that's get up 3, or the get up low kick, and that's get up 4, or the get up mid kick. Other options are toe kicks. As you can see, it is the quickest attack out of a grounded state. It has very bad range, as you can see, and it is very unsafe. If your opponent expects a toe kick rather, you are going to get hit with a combo, with a launcher. You are going to get punished, but that's another thing for another time, right? The last option that we have, which is just as punishable as a toe kick, is a spring kick, but this one is a mid. Again, since they are so difficult to counter hit, the downside is that if they are blocked, you are going to get hit with quite a bit of damage, as we will see later, right? So that's 99% of get up options in Tekken. One more thing before we move on. Actually, I said that 90% of the time where you can tech roll, you should. An example of an exception to this rule is with a 50-50 mix-up, for example. This is Kazuya's Hell Sweep. I should normally tech roll out of it, but there is a problem. Since Kazuya can string these over and over again, I am forced to guess every time I wake up with a tech roll, and that is a terrible solution to be in. Right now I'm going to guess another Hell Sweep and I got launched for it. So as you can see, sometimes tech roll just leads you to stand straight up in front of the opponents for another mix-up. And in these instances, it would be better to just stay on the ground like this. If I take a grounded hit and like distance myself from the opponents, it would be better for me than to just tech roll and eat another hell sweep, right? So this is an example in which it would be better to just not tech roll, take the grounded hit, and just act after that, right? The next two topics at hand here are frame data and punishment. We're going to talk about them back to back because they are somewhat related. Let's concentrate on frame data first. Frame data is divided into two parts, okay? The first one is attack startup, and the second one is hit or block advantage. Let's concentrate on attack startup first. In Tekken, we use frames as a unit of time, kinda like seconds in our world. If you are knowledgeable about frames per second, Tekken runs at 60 frames per second, so you can use that. But if you don't know about frames per second, forget what I just said. Just understand that frames are a unit of measurement of time in Tekken, okay? Each move in Tekken has its own startup frames. For example, a jab is 10 frames. It is universally 10 frames, okay? A slower move than a jab would be a down forward one, which is usually around 13 to 14 frames, okay? So a jab is 3 frames faster than a down forward one. Okay, a bit more on the slower side is Jin's forward 4, for example, which is 16 frames, as you can see on the frame display on the bottom left, okay? Forward 4 is 16 frames. And more on the slower side, which comes out like around 20 frames or more. Anything that is 20 frames or more is slow. You have a running kick, a running 3, Jin's down 2 is also on the slower side, and his hell sweep is also 20 frames, which is considered somewhat slow. Okay, this is attack startup. It is how many frames it takes for something to come out. For example, this move is 12 frames. This move is 15 frames. Every move has its startup speed, how long it takes for the move to come out, which is noticeable. For example, this quick jab is much faster than this very slow down back 3, okay? This is basically what startup frames are. The second aspect of frame data is hit and block advantage. What does this mean? You have to understand that in Tekken, if any move hits or gets blocked, one of the opponents is always going to be able to move before the other one. This is what hit or block advantage is. A very visually clear example of this is running 3. We say that running 3s are so advantageous on block that the attacker, Jin for this instance, is very visually able, we are visually able to see that Jin is able to attack, is able to move around and press another move before Kazuya. So while Kazuya is still rearing like from the block of the running 3, Jin is already able to move around or do another move. This is a visually clear example of frame advantage on block in this instance. The same thing goes for hit advantage. If I go to like make Kazuya not able to block, a very clear example is me spamming jabs. Jin will always have the frame advantage in this situation. And how we know how advantageous a situation is with frames. If you are willing to look at the frame display on the bottom left, on frame advantage, you can see that Jin on block is going to be somewhere around +6, okay? So this move gives Jin a +6 frame advantage over Kazuya. In Tekken, we say that Jin is +6 after running 3, okay? So this is the first aspect of hit and block advantage. The same thing goes for hit frames. After landing a jab, Jin is able to move 8 frames earlier than Kazuya. So we say that Jin, after a jab, is +8 on hit, okay? You have to understand something about frames, about hit and block advantage, is that they are always mirrored. For example, if Jin is +6 after running 3, Kazuya is -6 after blocking a running 3. If Jin is +6 on hits after a jab, Kazuya is always going to be -8 after getting hit with a jab. Frame data is always mirrored. If after a move, one of the characters is plus something, the other character is always minus that exact same thing. So if I'm +3, my opponent is -3. If I'm -5, my opponent is +5. If I'm -8, my opponent is +8. So this is another aspect of hit and block advantage. Now to combine the two aspects of frame data, which are attack startup and frame advantage or disadvantage, before we hop onto the example, I wanted to know one thing. The fastest universal move for every character in the game is jab, which is 10 frames. Okay, the only exception to this is Jack, which has an 11 frame jab, but everybody else has a 10 frame jab, and it is the fastest common move among the cast, among the Tekken 8 roster. Okay, so hopping to the example, which is the same example I've demonstrated before. It is running 3, which is +6 on block. Now, if we understand attack startup and advantage and disadvantage well, if I am going to do a running 3 and then directly afterward do a 15 frame move, and Kazuya does a 10 frame jab right afterwards. So let me phrase this again. If I am going to do a running 3, which is +6 on block, okay, and do a 15 frame move right after, and Kazuya does a jab, a 10 frame jab after the running 3, who is going to hit the other one first? Let's count the frames. I am +3 after I am +6, sorry. I am +6 after a running 3, and I do a 15 frame move. That means that like 15 frames minus 6 of the frame advantage is 9 frames. This means that Kazuya has to do a 9 frame move or faster to interrupt me. Alas, the fastest attack that he has is the 10 frame jab, meaning that if I do a running 3, which is +6, followed by a 15 frame move, Kazuya cannot interrupt me at all. So the example would be running 3, 15 frame move, and as you can see, even if I set Kazuya to do a jab afterwards, I will always be faster than him, because I am +6 and I am doing a 15 frame move. If I were to do a 16 frame move after running 3, so something like forward 4, which is 16 frames, we will hit each other at the same time. That is a trade. As you can see, I am +6 doing a 16 frame move and trading with Kazuya's 10 frame move, because as like we counted the frame before, I am +6. I am able to move 6 frames faster than Kazuya. So when I do a 16 frame move and Kazuya does a 10 frame move, we are going to hit each other at the same time. That is a trade. If I do anything faster than 15 frames, I am going to interrupt Kazuya. I am going to counter hit him. And if I do anything slower than 16 frames, then Kazuya is going to interrupt me. So like this. As you can see, I am trying to do a move, but since it is slower than 16 frames, Kazuya is going to interrupt me. So in this situation, I am +6, doing a move slower than 16 frames, and getting counter hits by a 10 frame attack, right? So this is basically frame data. It dictates the speed of moves and who gets to move first after a certain move, okay? Now, obviously, it is not as simple as 16 frame after +6 trades with a jab. Some situations are more ambiguous. If I do a move that is +4 on hit, and then I follow up with a 17 frame move, my character would need to do a 13 frame move to trade with me. If he does anything faster than 13, then he will interrupt me. If he does anything slower than 13, then I will interrupt him. And likewise, if he does a 13 frame move after my +4, and I do anything faster than 17, then I am going to counter hit him. If I do anything slower than 17, then he is going to counter hit me. This is the aspect of frame data. I am 100% sure that I am speaking gibberish to people who don't understand frame data, but as you engage more with the frames in the game and outside of the game with the community, you will be able to understand these phrases easier. We are only able to do this because we've been doing it for so much time, and as you get used to frame data in general, it will get easier with time. So the key takeaways are: frame data is divided into attack startup and advantage or disadvantage. And a few rules that I almost forgot. Most moves in this game, when they hit, they are plus on hits, okay? So this down back 3 is +3 on hits. This down forward 1, on hits, would be it would be plus, it is +4. And likewise, if it gets blocked, it is -3. So most moves, when they hit, they are plus on hits, and when they are blocked, they are minus on block. There are a few exceptions. There are some moves that are minus on hits, so even if you land the move, you are at a disadvantage, you see? And there are, likewise, there are some moves that are plus on block, okay? As we've seen with the running 3, or with the Jin's down forward 3 tilde 3. Okay, there are exceptions to this rule, but the rule is, if a move gets blocked, it is minus. You are minus after getting your move blocked. And if you hit with a move, you are plus. You are plus on hit. Okay, so this is the general rule with certain exceptions. Now that we're done with frame data, let's talk about punishments, which is really just an extension of frame data. We've said that some moves, that most moves on block are disadvantageous for the attacker. You see, after this move, if I set Kazuya to stop attacking me, you can see that after Jin's down forward 1, he is -3. This means that Kazuya can act 3 frames before Jin after this move is blocked. Okay? Great. What happens when a move is so disadvantageous on block that it is -10 on block or more? Please remember that the fastest universal move in this game is the 10 frame jab, you see? So the question is, what happens when a move is so disadvantageous that it is -10 or more? As you can see, what is going to happen is that Kazuya can hit me with a jab, with the example of this down back 3, which is -10 on block. It is so bad that Kazuya can hit me with his jab before I am even able to block. And this is what we call a punish. You can see that on the right side, it's writing punish, because Kazuya is hitting me before I can even block, because the move that Kazuya is blocking is -10 for Jin, and Kazuya is hitting a 10 frame jab. So this is what punishment is. It's when a move is so disadvantageous on block for the attacker that the defender, the one who blocked the move, can hit him before he can even block. This is what punishment is. So now, when you are going to be learning a character, you are going to get to know their punishment. We talk about 10 frame punishes, 11 frame punishes for some, up until 15 frame punishments. That's when the most devastating moves come out. For example, Jin's launchers are 2 of Jin's launchers are 15 frames. So his can, you can see that first move is 15 frame, and also his hop kick is 15 frames. So you see, if a move is so bad on block that it is minus 15 on block or more, we can score a full combo with a launcher. That is what we call a launch punisher, okay? So this is basically what punishment is. And the same thing goes for lows, as you can see. The only difference is that when you are blocking a low, since you are not standing up, you don't have access to your normal standing punishers. You then have, when you are ducking, you will have access to what we call while standing punishers. See? So when you are going to learn a character, you are going to learn about their standing punishers and their while standing punishers to punish lows and moves that put you into crouch. So, example of me punishing Kazuya, since I know this move is minus 14, let's do this one by one. Since Kazuya's down back 4 is minus 12, I am going to use my 11 frame punish, since Jin does not have a 12 frame while standing punish. So as you can see, after ducking this move, I am going to hit him with a punish, okay? For this other move, since I know Kazuya is minus 14, and Jin has a 14 frame while standing launcher, I am going to launch him after blocking this move. So this is an example of while standing punishment, okay? So that's it about general frame data and punishments. So before we go, one last aspect of punishments, which is not reliant on frame data at all, is whiff punishment. What is a whiff? A whiff is basically any attack that misses. This is a whiff because it's only hitting like the air in front of me and not Kazuya. This is not a whiff, and likewise, if a move is blocked, then it is not a whiff. A whiff is basically an attack that is missed. When I am hitting the air, I am whiffing. I am missing my attack, I am whiffing. And as such, when you are whiffing, since frame data doesn't apply, you can punish your opponents with whatever you want, basically. An example of this would be this right here. This is Kazuya's forward 4, which is plus 4 for him, right? Since it is minus 4 for me on my frame display, then it is plus 4 for him, right? Even though this move is really good for him on block, the moment he misses, I can whiff punish it, right? Not only can I whiff punish it, I can punish it with a launcher. That is the magic of whiff punishes. Since you are not blocking a move and you are free to move the moment they miss their attack, you can theoretically always launch punish your opponents for whatever move they do, right? That is the magic of whiff punishments in Tekken. As you can see, even the best moves on block for some characters can lead to half-life combos, right? So that is whiff punishment in a nutshell. The next thing I think you should learn as an intermediate Tekken player is advanced movement. What do I mean by it? It is everything else that is not basic movements as we've seen before, right? An example of advanced Tekken movements, which is universal, every character has this option, is a Korean backdash, right? Whatever character you play, you should be able to backdash. And I think you should start learning how to do it as early as possible. A technique that is character specific to Mishimas and characters that have a Mishima crouch dash, which are King and Harang as of now, for example, is a Mishima wave dash, right? It solves a lot of problems. It closes the space between you and the opponent. It realigns if they try to sidestep, and if you play an actual Mishima, you have the threat of a wave dash into electric, which is great if the opponent, to deter the opponent rather from pressing. Other examples of advanced movement options in Tekken that are character specific are snake dashing for characters with a roll dash or a standard crouch dash. Another example of a unique movement option in Tekken is Nina's Hayashida step, which is amazing for her because while she does it, she is almost untouchable. She is going to make a lot of moves with. while she is doing it, right? And I'm not telling you to perfect these movement options right off the bat. Even the trained eye can see that on a 1P side, my Korean backdash has a few extra frames of neutral that my backdash would be better without, right? It is not optimal. But what I'm getting at is that it gets the job done. Even with those few extra frames, I am like able to backdash in game. And that's the mentality I think you should have, because if you obsess over movement options, you will never get to play the game, literally. There is always like one extra frame that you can shave off of your backdash or another movement option. And my goal here is to tell you about these techniques and to tell you to master them as a progress over time. Do not like try to perfect these right off the bat. Other than that, there are amazing learning resources for advanced movement options. VTX has an amazing video on Korean backdash, and a few other content creators have videos on wave dashing, for example. I'm going to be linking each of these in the description. The next topic at hand here is intermediate defense, which is a huge topic in and of itself and contains many different subjects, which we are going to go through one by one. The first two topics I want to talk about are good spacing and awareness. In Tekken, different characters have different optimal ranges. It depends on the player too, but it is mostly like the character itself. For example, Nina and Anna like to play at this range, literally point blank with the opponent, sticking to them, so that they can rely on quick pokes and plus frames. For example, Nina has her sidestep 1 offense, and Anna has her looping stance transition offense, right? But other characters, Brian for example, even though he excels in this range too, this range 0, point blank, where he can use his forward 3 and his down forward 1s for example, his players like to play him at this kind of range, where he has access to amazing moves with great reach and that give him the advantage even on block. His players feel more in control in this kind of range. So this is what I mean when I say different characters have different optimal ranges. As a good Tekken player, you should do your best to stay out of your opponent's optimal range, either by being too far away or by being too close to the opponent so that their best moves are like circumvented by like where you are relative to them, right? You should do your best to avoid that optimal range for your opponents and try to enforce that optimal range for yourself in turn. So this is good spacing. And the second part of it is awareness. Awareness is understanding your position, where you are on the stage, and considering all of your opponent's relative options, right? So, an example of good awareness would be knowing Kazuya's options at the wall. If you somehow are playing against Kazuya and you end up with the wall to your left, you are in a terrible position. Kazuya is a demon in this situation because you cannot step to his weak side, which you should sidestep left for, right? And he himself, the Kazuya, has access to a launch from Hell Sweep. Hell Sweep itself is a power low, but if the wall is to Kazuya's right, he can launch off of his Hell Sweep with CD4-1, which is the Hell Sweep, into down forward 1, down forward 2 for a full combo. In this situation, Kazuya has a mix-up between a mid launcher and a low launcher. So awareness would be great in intermediate Tekken to tell yourself, oh, the wall is to my left, Kazuya is probably going to try to launch me with a Hell Sweep, and so you are going to duck. And in advanced Tekken you are going to go, oh no, the wall is to my left, Kazuya has a mix-up between a mid and a low, which he will enforce because he won't necessarily go for a Hell Sweep because he knows that I know. So he is going to enforce the mix-up, in which case it would be better for me to die by getting counter hits than to actually try to guess between these two launchers, and as such you will adjust your options to like to mitigate the damage, really. So this is what the essence of good awareness is. Other examples are, for example, if I am against a Leroy and he does sidestep 3+4 into Hermit, and the wall behind me is a stage hazard, either a balcony break or a wall break or whatever, I know that he's going to do a hell sweep because I am aware of his options relative to where we are on the stage, right? And you like improve your awareness by just playing the game and considering the opponent's options at any time relative to where you are on the stage, like always considering the wall and the stage hazards. That is what a good awareness is. Going back to intermediate defense, an important aspect of it rather, is string defense, as in how to defend against strings, which are many. There are a lot of strings in Tekken. And if you don't know how to defend against them, they can be somewhat busted. But thankfully, more than a few of them have holes. They have weaknesses that we can exploit, right? The first weakness that a string might have is having a high. It can be either like in the middle of the string, right? Or it can be the last hit of the string. It could be a high. So in those instances, it would be best to actually duck the high and launch punish them for trying to use that string, right? You can hopefully see examples right now on your screen. A second way to beat strings is to sidestep one of the hits, right? So a few strings in this game leave you with enough of an opening for you to sidestep a hit, or either a hit or the last hit of the string, as you can see in these examples. And if you can, you should do it and launch your opponents for it. A third aspect of string defense is actually counter-hitting the opponents while they are doing the strings. There are a subset of strings in this game that give you enough time for you to counter-hit your opponents while they are doing the string. They are like there isn't a lot of them in the game, but this is an example of how to beat a string. There are a few other niche examples that will have to counter strings, but they are either character specific or they are so niche that I don't recommend actually using them unless you are a character specialist, in which case I would advise you to actually use those counters, those ways to defeat the strings, right? So another important aspect of intermediate defense is countering strings, as in string defense, right? Continuing with intermediate defense, this is probably the time for you to start learning how to break throws, at least the ones with the normal animations, as in like the ones where if they reach out with a 1, you have to break using 1. If they reach out with their right hand, you have to break a 2, right? And if they reach with both hands, you have to break a 1+2. So this is basic throw breaking. This is going to take quite a bit of time, right? Thankfully, there are a lot of internet resources for you to help. Again, FDX has an amazing video on throw breaking drills if you want to check that out, right? But yeah, that's about it. It is going to take quite a bit of time. I think that if you are diligent and talented, it's going to take really just a few months. But if you lack one of the two, either diligence or talent, then it is going to take quite a bit more, as in like upwards, almost, not upwards, almost like 10 months or so for you to start seeing solid results in game. But it is worth it because it is such an important skill to have, right? Throw breaking is like, it's so important that you cannot play Tekken Intermediate or Advanced Tekken without it. So that's throw breaking for you. Another aspect which is quite similar to throw breaks is actually reacting to reactable moves, which are somewhere around 21 to 23 frames, depending on how ready you are for them and their animations, the animation of the move itself. Examples of moves you have to learn to react to, you have to at least try at this level, is Brian's snake edges, really. Brian's and Lily's and Xiao Yu, even Asuka somewhat, you know? Those are examples of moves you have to try to react to, otherwise they are too good, right? There aren't only lows that are reactable in this game, there are mids that you should try to react to. For example, Paul's forward 1+2 hold. That is an example of a very slow move that even if you are ducking, expecting a low or a high, you have time to react to it and stand back up, right? There are plenty of examples of reactable moves all around in Tekken, and it would be in your best interest to try to learn to react to those, right? Also keep in mind that while I think I talked about most of intermediate defense concepts, this is not all of it. There are tons and tons of small little minute details about every character and every situation and every concept that I have failed to talk about. But for those you would have to play the game, you would simply have to play the game and interact with it to get to learn those concepts. But now that we're done with intermediate defense, let's jump into some offensive concepts. The two concepts that I'm going to talk about are poking and mix-ups. So let's talk about poking first. Poking is the process of using pokes or small attacks like these in order to attack your opponent. Not this one, I'm talking more about down forward 1, or a down 4, or a down back 4, or a down forward 3, or jab strings, right? These are examples of good pokes. And we use pokes as for two things really. You can use pokes as a way to bait a retaliation from your opponents. For example, a semi-popular strat is using Jin's down 4. Since it pushes the opponent back even on hits, you can make quite a lot of things with just a backdash after the down 4 on hit, and then you will whiff punish, right? Another example of using pokes to bait a reaction would be 2-1, which is a really good poking string for Jin, because it has the threats of 1-2-4, and he is only -3 after 2-1, which starts from a 10-frame jab, which is really good. So Jin players will do 2-1 into sidestep, and if you whiff something, then you will die for it, right? This is... and also, but if you turtle around while your opponent is poking and you don't fall into their traps, then you are leaving them with the liberty of either poking you to death with mid and low pokes, right? Or you're giving them the opportunity to enforce a much bigger threat, which is mix-ups. But this begs the question, what are mix-ups? Mixing your opponents up, or enforcing a mix-up, is using two options that are committal, which you have to commit for, but that make the opponents guess between one and the other. Examples of moves that we use for mix-ups would be Jin Zen 1+2, which does a lot of damage for a low, or his Hell Sweep, which also does a lot of damage for a low, right? For these lows, for example, the opponents would want to duck. But if they do duck for the lows, then they leave themselves open to the big committal mids that are forward 3, the launcher, or for example CD1, which is also the launcher. So now you might understand what mix-ups are. They are situations in where the defender has to guess between a low that they would want to duck for because it does so much damage, and a mid that they would want to block because it is a launcher, and which would do half health if they do get hit by it. Now please do note that not all mix-ups are low-mid mix-ups. Some characters have high guard breaks in which they would have to duck in a similar fashion to lows. Some other characters have mid guard breaks in which you would have to actually challenge them, either counter hit them or sidestep the mid guard break. But if the opponent knows that you are going to challenge that mid guard break, they are going to do a quicker mid, which would either counter hit you or catch you stepping. So that is the overarching concept of mix-ups. It is two options that you cannot defend against at the same time and are both threatening enough so that you would want to like guess between the option that the attacker is going to do. And this is like globally the duality of poking and mix-ups. You would want to like use a good like mix of both so that the opponent never truly knows what you are going to do next. So keeping them on their back foot and like always having the upper hand. That is a good way to summarize mix-ups and poking in Tekken. And there isn't much left I can remember to tell you to learn right now. One aspect that I think you should go back to is combos actually. Do you know your off-axis combos, either to the left or to the right? Do you know your back-turned launchers, if you have those with your character? Can you maximize the damage off of those launches? You should start dabbling into max damage territory and try to staple it if your character has a somewhat easy max damage combo, like King for example, right? These are aspects of your combo that you should seek to improve right now. Also, optimizing your resources, like heat and rage off of your combos, and also maximizing damage off of stage hazards, right? I think those aspects of combos, you should actually get to master them right about now, right? At this level of play. There isn't much I can tell you to do at this level of play. I guess I can tell you to like deepen your overall knowledge of the game, right? Like, do you know which way to step certain characters' best moves, like Jin's or Brian's, right? Do you know which characters have the best sidesteps, which ones have the best backdashes, right? And likewise, which ones have the worst movements. This info is excruciatingly important. Like for example, I was playing in this grand finals against this player who had a good Jack and a good Elisa. They brought out the Elisa first. In that matchup, I kid you not, every second move I did was a forward 4 with King. And that is because I knew their playstyle. I knew they liked, they favored, like they prioritized either step into press or step into duck, and forward 4 beat out both of those. Not only that, but I knew that I would have them beat at the mind game of like after forward 4 if they decided to step block, right? I knew that I would have them beat out either with muscle armor, which would beat out everything 15 frames or slower, or with a straight up disrespect on my minus frames with hopkick, because I knew they would try to enforce a somewhat slow mix-up, or they would try to take their turn with a forward dash or a, you know, like dash into full crouch, into like full crouch down 1+2, right? I knew that I would have them beat either by hitting them with forward 4 if they chose to do step into duck or step into press, or that I would have them beat at the mind game afterwards if they tried to do a step block and they blocked my forward 4. Now, I'm bringing this example up because after a few matches, they brought out the Jack, right? And with the Jack, my gameplay shifted completely. Very few forward 4s in sight. Again, since Jack has terrible movement and he has a large hitbox, you would see me spamming forward neutral 2, down forward 2, down 3, running 3, all the moves that I could not do against that player when they played Elisa, I could now use them when they were using their Jack, right? So that is an example of like game knowledge that you have to learn. Another example is common character setups. Do you know to not tech roll Brian at the wall if he carries you to the wall? If you tech roll, you might die for that, and you should get it into your like habits to not tech roll against Brian at the wall. Do you know which stage gimmicks work best for you? For example, King works best with floor breaks, right? So that is the kind of knowledge that I want you to acquire. And to do that, you need to engage with the game, period. You need to play the game. You need to watch your replays. You need to get blown out by a player who is miles better than you, right? You need to watch tournaments. You can engage with the community and ask for character or matchup specific advice, right? All in all, you need to play the game and deepen your overall knowledge of it. And the last thing that's left to do, in my opinion, at this level of play, is to try to develop a game plan. This game plan should revolve not only around your character's strengths and weaknesses, it should also depend on you as a player, your strengths and your weaknesses. And that's why resources on learning how to build a game plan are so rare on the internet. It's because it is both so character specific and player specific that it is difficult to give a certain mold to shape your game plan on. And that's why I think it's left as an exercise to the reader, right? Not anyone really can help you with building your own game plan by making a video or something. That is something you have to do on your own. And it doesn't really have to be the perfect game plan. It doesn't even have to be certain. It just has to be a game plan. A certain game plan that you can tweak, that you can change as you improve and get better at the game. You don't have to give up on it the moment it fails you. That's the concept of adaptation, right? You have to just change a few things around, see what works, see what doesn't, and keep building upon it until you, while you get better at the game, right? We have now reached our second turning point. And as long as you understand the aforementioned concepts and are actively playing and improving at the game, I don't have much more to tell you in this aspect, other than you have to check yourself. What do I mean by that? I guess it's just to be honest with yourself. For example, do you struggle on player 2 side with your movement, or do you struggle on player 1 side, right? Or are there certain matchups that you are dodging because you think they are carried? Whatever that means, right? You have to be honest with yourself. You have to check yourself for those kinds of limitations, which are the biggest brake you could put on your improvements if you are not addressing them, right? So the best thing I can tell you is to work on your limitations as a player. You have to address the limitations that you are putting on yourself while you are playing Tekken. That is what I mean by checking yourself. Check yourself, check your game plan for flaws or limitations. And one more thing I can tell you about this stretch is that in advanced level of play, you are going to do most of your improvements while playing matches as opposed to training mode compared to a beginner or an intermediate level player. And the reason for that is that in advanced levels of play, you have to start facing problems like not allowing your brain to go on autopilot, or you have to learn to option select your opponent's mix-ups in real time. No matter how much time you spend in training mode, you are not going to be able to face these issues or learn how to do these things like OSing a mix-up in training mode. You have to be in a real match setting to learn how to do these kinds of things, right? And it is through training, rather, in a real match setting that you are able to grow as an advanced player, as opposed to training mode compared to the other levels of play. The first aspect of advanced Tekken that I want to talk about is option selects, which don't mean the same thing as they do in other fighting games, so forget about that definition for a second. Option selects in Tekken are a set of actions that beat out some of or all of the opponent's options in a certain situation. This sounds very complicated, but if you're gonna look at the examples, it is much more simpler than the definition I just gave. An example of an option select that is done out in neutral, which ignoring stances and strings and whatnot, an example of an option select out in neutral is the anti-Lydia sidestep right duck option select, which you can see an example of in this anti-Lydia masterclass that was displayed by Lohai in the Tekken World Tour Finals this year. As you can see, sidestep right duck beats out Lydia's most prominent and reliable options, such as forward 2 and quarter circle forward 4. As you can see, as is showcased by Lohai, sidestep right beats out the forward forward 2, and the duck afterward beats out the quarter circle forward 4. So any option that Farzin chooses in this situation, if he messes up his timing and Lohai has a read on what he was going to do, on when rather he was going to do it, he was going to punish Farzin for trying that, either with the forward forward 2 or the quarter circle forward 4, the homing high rather, right? So this is an example of an option select that is done out in neutral. Another type of option select is the option select after a stance. An example of this would be not Lydia, Rena's forward forward 2 into Sentai, which your like most reliable option select after that would be sidestep left into duck, since it beats out Sentai 4, Sentai 3, Sentai 2, the Sentai homing lows, and the unbreakable grabs, right? The only things that would hit you if you choose to do sidestep left duck would be the power crush from Sentai and Sentai 1+2. So needless to say, the sidestep left duck beats out most of Rena's options out of forward forward 2 into Sentai, and that is an amazing example of an option select to counter a stance. The last type of option select that you can do is to option select a string extension, right? So for example, for Paul's forward forward 2 has a lot of extensions, but you can luckily fuzzy guard these extensions so that and fuzzy guards are a type of option select in which like you duck for a split of a second and then stand back up to beat out more than one option. So with this fuzzy guard, which is an OS, you can beat out his forward forward 2 forward forward 2 just frame 1, which is a high, and his forward forward 2 1, which is a mid, as you can probably see in this example. And you can punish both of these depending on what he did, right? That is an example of an option select to beat out a string's extensions. So these are option selects in general. They are sets of actions, so you know, like sidestep right duck, or sidestep left duck, or backdash duck, or sidestep left press, or whatever, that beat out a lot of your opponent's options in a certain given situations. So these are option selects. They are character specific, like on offense, not on defense, right? So your opponents, you can OS their offense with any character that you have, right? But it is character specific for the attacker. So these are option selects in a nutshell, and you should get to learn those and apply those as much as possible in a real match, because it saves you a lot of trouble, like laws, DSS, option select with sidestep right duck, which is kind of difficult to do in a real match, but it does save you a lot of trouble if you can actually execute it in a real match setting. Another aspect of advanced Tekken, and this for me is the trademark of a really good player. If you see someone do this, then you should know that they are really good at the game. They might not be like among the best, right? But you should at least know that they are really good at the game if they do this intentionally. And that is realignment. What is realignment? Realignment is actually doing something to reset your access relative to an opponent who is stepping to not with your attacks due to their sidestep. It sounds somewhat complicated too, but we're going to get to it later. And why we do this is because homing moves have certain limitations, right? Some homing moves are unsafe. So if my opponent doesn't step, then I'm going to get punished for it, right? Some homing moves are highs, as we've seen before with Lydia's quarter circle forward 4. If my opponent does something like step into duck, then I am done for. I am dead. I am going to get launched for it for 50%. Some other homing moves are mids, for examples, but they are slow, so my opponents can circumvent the whole situation by doing sidestep into block, at which point I have lost my turn, and they are free most times to do whatever they want, right? They have gotten their turn. So yeah, that's why we use realignments. It's because homing moves are not perfect, they have limitations. I am somewhat like being somewhat reductive of what realignment is, but that is the gist of it. And how you do it is you can, for example, if you think your opponent is going to step after something, you can step along with them, right? And then do your move. You can step to the opposite side, it realigns all the same. You can even forward dash if you're not sure if your opponent is going to backdash or sidestep, at which point you are still sticking to them and you have realigned with your forward dash, meaning that whatever move you do afterwards is going to track them. They are not going to make you whip. That is the general gist of realignment. It is doing something, or even at certain times, not doing anything. Just by standing around and delaying your option, you are going to catch your opponent's sidesteps. Even though that is more of a delayed timing notion, which we are going to treat later. But if we go back to the other options, which I talked about, which are sidestepping to realign with your opponent or forward dashing, those are very like good techniques that we use to circumvent the opponent's sidestepping without relying on homing moves, which might have certain limitations, right? So that is the gist of realignment. Okay, so the last topic or last topics I want to talk about in Advanced Tekken are the concepts of adaptation, timing, and layers, right? So we've seen before, previously, how with option selects, you can invalidate a lot of the opponent's options, as we've seen with Lydia using sidestep right duck, right? A similar example to Lydia is Jin. Now, by no means is Jin a bad character in this game. He is a good jack of all trades, and in some instances he is literally an ace of all trades, right? He excels at everything. But a general strategy while playing Jin is to stay rather at a distance from the opponents and pester them with things like forward 4 or forward 2 or dash in electric, right? These are all options that he can enforce at a distance, since like they have a lot of reach, are quite fast, and they all give amazing reward either on hit or on counter hits, right? So this is a general strategy for Jin. Stay at a distance, forward 4, forward 2, and dash in electric, or a windy as I just did, but an electric is better, right? So this is Jin's, as we say, this is Jin's layer 1 strategy, because this is the tactic that they default to, right? Forward 4, forward 2, and electric. Now, to beat out this strategy, an option select out in the open would be sidestep right duck. Either sidestep right duck to beat out forward 4 and the electric, or sidewalk right to beat out forward 2 and the forward 4. In each of these instances, in any option you choose, if you make the Jin whiff, you are going to launch him, right? So this is our layer 1 counterplay to counter Jin's layer 1. Now, the Jin is not stupid. If he sees that we are countering his layer 1 with layer 1 with like the sidestep right duck, he is going to understand that we are basically giving him a green card to just go in and start playing small second, which he excels at too. So it would look something like dash in, 2-1, down 4, back dash. If he thinks we're gonna press to retaliate, he's going to do the down 4 backdash into forward 4, or if he thinks we're not gonna press anything, or if we whiff, he's going to do dash in electric or electric to whiff punish, respectively, to like the two situations that I just said, right? So he has his options. If he understands that we are going to stay at a distance and enforce the layer 1 counterplay, which is sidestep right duck, he is going to take his turn with dash in small second, right? As we've said before, with 2-1, back forward 2, down back 4, down forward 1, down 4 rather, while gauging his options and your retaliations, right? And this is the concept of a very basic concept of adaptation. We've gone from his layer 1 to our layer 1 counterplay for him to his layer 2 to our turn now, which is our turn to adapt to his adaptation. In this example, if we understand that the Jin is going to rely on a small second after dashing and immediately applying it, Depending on the character, right, we can apply some keep out. As I said, depending on the character, if they have a safe down toward 2, or if your character has good keep out, like Lee or Asuka, for example, you are going to have a field day with this because you are going to launch him if you have a read on the timing of his layer 2 offense, right? So this is like the continuation of the concept of adaptation. And we can stop this example right here. This is a good example of layers and adaptation. But if we are willing to push our study of this situation deeper and deeper, we're gonna get to the next layers and timing. For example, if the Jin understands that we will default to keep out to beat out his small Tekken, and they are experienced, for example, they can do something simple like a dash block, which is going to invalidate our keep outs and is going to give him his turn, because most likely we are going to be somewhere between -7 and -9 for a safe down for 2, at which case they are going to take advantage. They are going to take their overwhelming advantage of this situation, and they are going to enforce it smartly, not with a very slow mix-up which could be beaten by pressing out of frame, right? This is a simple way to beat out our keep out, and if they are very experienced and have a very good read on our timing, they can do something like dash in, sidestep right to make the down forward to whiff and launch us for it. So this is an example of the adaptation to the adaptation. At which case we have reached a terrible situation, because now the Jin has a read on our timing, and he is not going to default to the layer 1 because he knows that we are going to default ourselves to the sidestep right counterplay. So we are in a terrible situation where the Jin has a read on our timing, and he is going to enforce his small second, right, after dashing in and dealing with our keep out options, right? So this is a situation where we are at a disadvantage. But now, because we have half a brain, we are going to understand that the Jin, a general strategy for Jin in order to keep their small Tekken momentum is to not finish their strings, rather, right? So they are not going to finish 2-1-4. They are not going to finish back forward 2-3 or back forward 2-1. They are not going to finish down forward 1-4. And since we understand this, we can actually challenge these options, since they are not finishing them, right? They are going to do 2-1, we are going to counter hit them. They are going to do down forward 1, we are going to challenge it afterwards, because we know they are not going to do a down forward 1-4. Same for down forward 2-3 and down forward 2-1. Right? So this is where the situation we have reached. We are going to challenge their options, their options after their strings, because we know they are not going to finish them. The orthodox adaptation for Jin in this example is to start finishing their strings, which, depending on which strings they finish, we can, like, it is anywhere between kinda bad for us to terribly bad, because we can get counter hit launched with a back forward 2-3, for example, right? And here again, our answer to that would be to not press, in which case they have lost their turn, either by being -9 and us taking advantage of that, or them being unsafe and us punishing and enforcing our offense, right? So here we have reached another kind of stalemate, a semi-stalemate really. The Jin is not going to finish his options because they are scared of getting punished or getting their turn taken, and we are not going to press because we are scared of the last hit of Jin's small second strings, right? And this is where the concepts of instance and delay in timing are going to get to, because if, for example, the Jin does a 2-1 and sees that we have not pressed anything, he is going to delay his timing and do a forward 4. So 2-1, delayed timing, forward 4. For us, whom we were scared of pressing because of 2-1-4, If we see that the Jin does not commit to the 2-1-4, we go, he is not going to press, it is my turn to press. If the Jin has a right read on that with his timing, he is going to do 2-1 delay forward 4, for which we are going to get counter hit launched. And this is like a the best example of instant and delayed timing, because a delayed timing in this example would be their 2-1 delay forward 4 to catch us pressing, because we thought they were not going to press after the 2-1, right? So this is a somewhat complex like case study of timing, adaptation, and layers, which just keeps cycling and cycling and cycling, because we keep like changing our timing to beat out the opponent's adaptation to our previous timing, which is by itself a case of adaptation, right? Just changing your timing around is a case of adaptation, and adapting to the opponent would be switching out your options and your timing of using these options, right? So this is basically a case study of timings and layers and adaptation. And I believe that's about everything I want to talk about in this video, right? Now, please keep in mind that while I've said this, I'm gonna say it again. I'm not even scratching the surface of the complexity of the ocean that is Tekken, right? It is so big, and I cannot possibly talk about every topic, every noteworthy concept in this video, or it would be too long, simply put, right? And also keep in mind that I am still learning this game. I am not anywhere near the best. So take everything that I've said at the advanced level with a grain of salt. There might still be a lot of things that I do not know of yet, and I would like to teach you rather in the future. And yeah, that's about it. Hopefully season 3 is better than what we've had for like the last year. It would be amazing like if Tekken would like would dial down rather on the Tekken 8 stuff, right? But yeah, that's about it. If you learned anything from this video, please like and subscribe. Also consider subscribing if you would like more of this content in the future and have it in your YouTube feed, right? Yeah, if you would like coaching, again, please check the link in the description. But other than that, I have nothing else for now. This has been Magician for the Essential Tekken 8 Learning Roadmap, and I hope you have a good one. Peace out.